is the Big Ten Network. Speed. Fuel TV. FoxSports.com. Fox Soccer. FSN. And Fox Sports, the greatest collection of sports properties in the world.
We are Fox Sports!
What a historic week it's been.
Curveball hit in the air to left field. That's hit well. At the fence, it is gone. Jim Thome has hit his 600th.
It's just very special. It's surreal. You know, you never really imagine being in this situation. It's just great.
And the excitement didn't stop there, as it was one thrilling week of baseball.
Jones hammers it. This ball game is over.
Lowry touches third, goes to second for two.
Wilson flips the bench guard, relay to first.
A triple play.
It's a triple play.
Today, Fox Saturday Baseball keeps the good times rolling as the National League's biggest sluggers take center stage in 3 key matchups. So don't miss the action, because it's all on Fox and starts right now.
Welcome to the Gillette Fusion Pro Glide pregame show on Fox. We are in Queens, where the kings of the National League Central pay a visit. On a steamy day in New York, it's Game 2 of the series between the Brewers and the Mets. And after a nearly 3-hour rain delay, the Brew Crew took the series opener last night against David Wright and the Mets. This afternoon, the all-star third baseman takes his hacks against the left-hander Randy Wolf, who eyes his 5th straight win. Hi, everybody. I am Chris Rose, and welcome to another live edition of Fox Saturday Baseball. Less than 6 weeks to go in the regular season, so we're getting down to crunch time. This afternoon, one of 3 great games coming your way on Fox. Some of you will stay right here in New York City. Others, we're going to send off to the north side of Chicago to check out the Cubs and the Cardinals. It's been a dismal season for the Northsiders, but Aramis Ramirez has had an outstanding year, and today they'll take on their arch rival, the Cardinals. The rest of you will ship off to Pittsburgh to check out the Reds and the Pirates. Joey Votto homered last night in the Reds win, and he is 3rd in the National League in batting. But back to the hottest team in the game, the Milwaukee Brewers. They've won 20 of their last 23, and they're winning big time at the turnstiles as well. In fact, they could draw more than 3 million fans for the 3rd time in the last 4 seasons, and it's a fan base that hopes to be cheering deep into the month of October.
Milwaukee's a small town. There's not a lot of people here, but they come out for the games. It's pretty awesome. You know, they love their sports here, and luckily right now they have something to root for.
It's incredible, man. I mean, we play in the smallest media market of all 30 clubs. People this year are really starting to recognize what special thing we have going on here. The fans are incredible. They're very passionate. They show up every day.
You guys make the offseason deals for Greinke and for Markham, and you know the front office is all in. I mean, is it World Series or bust?
I don't know about or bust, but it's definitely let's win. After Ron gets the job, he gets pretty awesome holiday presents. He gets Greinke and Markham.
Overall, this is the best team I've been on, you know, in the 6 years I've been playing. So that doesn't come around too often.
Right now, am I talking to Nigel Morgan or am I talking to Tony Plush?
Since I'm on stage, you know you're talking to T-Dot.
Is it possible that Tony Plush is the most popular Brewer right now?
Plush the Mentals.
It's definitely possible. It's possible he's the most popular baseball player right now.
Ah, that's it.
Is he crazy?
Oh, yeah. Very crazy. All the people I know that are good at baseball are crazy.
What's off about you?
A lot.
I want to test you on your Brewers history.
Talk to me.
Do you know the last time the Brew Crew won a playoff series?
84? No.
I would have to assume 1982, which is the last time they won their division and went to the World Series. It's got to be it.
That's correct.
Yes.
You weren't even born.
I was not, no.
The 1982 team.
Yeah.
The offense had a nickname. You know what they were called?
No, but I know we're called the SWAT team.
I haven't heard that.
That's between you and I.
Really?
Yeah.
And now them.
Well, maybe now they know.
So I asked Ryan Braun about the SWAT team moniker. He said, you know what? Let's roll with it. Anything that comes out of T. Plush's mouth is pure genius. Well, perhaps you can see for yourself, for those of you that are getting the Brewers and the Mets. We got baseball coming your way on Fox. Prince of the Boys are the hottest team in the game. See if the Mets can slow them down. Others will get the Cardinals and the Cubs from the north side of Chicago. The rest of you will see the Reds and the Pirates from Pittsburgh. We'll get you out to the ball field right here on Fox. After this.
A warm, humid summer afternoon for baseball in New York City. Fox Saturday Baseball, welcome to the Flushing, Queens, New York, as the New York Mets play host to the first-place Milwaukee Brewers. And welcome to Citi Field. This weekend in August finds the Milwaukee Brewers firing on all cylinders as their control over the rest of the National League Central has swollen to a 7.5-game lead. And as I welcome Tim McCarver to the telecast, Tim, Ricky Weeks led off the season for the Brewers back in March with a home run, and everybody thought, oh, here they are. The Brewers are going to have to bang their way to a division title. This is a much more balanced team than some may have believed.
Yeah, people thinking Ricky Weeks, Ryan Braun, and Prince Fielder, big offensive forces, and obviously they are. But it's been the pitching of the Brewers. Everybody talks about the pitching of the Philadelphia Phillies, and believe me, it's stalwart. But it's the Milwaukee Brewers who have led the majors in earned run average since the All-Star game.
A couple of left-handers on the mound, Randy Wolf and Chris Capuano. The New York Mets have begun their auditions for 2012 in earnest. David Wright's accompanying cast might look a little different next year. Baseball coming up. The hottest team in the game has a chance by the end of the day to claim their largest division lead in franchise history. Prince Braun and the Brewers are in Flushing to battle the Mets. Lineups and first pitch are coming up next. in Flushing. 81 balmy degrees for baseball on this Saturday in August. Partly cloudy skies. The Brewers and Mets in their second of a 3-game series. The opening pitch brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Let's take a look at today's visiting starting lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers, brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Corey Hart leads things off. The two-time All-Star has had success in the leadoff hole. Jerry Hairston Jr. bats second in center field. The big mashers, Braun, Fielder, and McGee, 3 through 5. Unieski Betancourt, the team's player of the month in July, is at shortstop, batting number 6. Josh Wilson, George Kataris, and Randy Wolf round things out against Chris Capuano on the mound to make his 24th start of the season this afternoon.
Pitching against the Brewers, his old team, a team with whom he spent 6 years from 2004 to 2010, and they nursed him through Tommy John surgery. He, of course, an ex-Brewer. Good changeup. It's very effective, particularly in the early innings. And he, like a lot of the Mets, he's pitching for next year. They're playing for next year. The
sprint pitcher profile for Chris Capuano, whose only start against the Brewers in his career came earlier this year at Miller Park. He was a 2-1 winner against his old uniform that afternoon. Tim, let's take a look at the 4 keys to the game.
Well, for the Brewers, keep the gathering steam so they can get home field advantage in the playoffs. Presently, they're 7 games behind the Philadelphia Phillies in that department. It's hard to believe. They've won 20 of 23 since late July, and they're still 7 games behind the Phillies. And as we said, the Phillies playing at Citi Field, it's almost like a rehearsal hall here.
Corey Hart leads things off for Milwaukee. Hart, Hairston, and Braun to begin the afternoon for a Brewer team, Tim, that is firing on all cylinders, to repeat what we said a moment ago. 74-52. And the Brewers on top of the pack by 7.5 in the Central. And they're doing it with a variety of personnel combinations and in a variety of different ways. The 1-1 to Corey Hart is yanked into the corner, a foul ball.
Well, obviously, it's not only that you have a good record going into the postseason, but going into the postseason as a red-hot ball club. And if the Brewers continue to play as well as they have, they'll be doing that going into October. But that's really what you want to do. You talked about firing all cylinders. That's what you want to do when you head into the postseason.
Chris Capuano registers a 3-pitch strikeout of Corey Hart to start his afternoon.
Probably the tallest leadoff hitter in the major leagues goes down on strikes, going after a fastball up.
Jerry Hairston Jr. now the center fielder this afternoon, batting in the 2 spot with the leadoff hitter retired and the bases empty. You know, to your point, Tim, on Corey Hart's size, it's a little jarring when you see a guy that big lead off a ball game.
It is. You're right.
He is the tallest leadoff hitter in Major League Baseball to serve at least 30 games in that chair since 1974. And when we asked Ron Renicky about that before the ball game today, he said, I wanted a scary at-bat atop my lineup card. In the absence of Ricky Weeks, who's also scary, but for different reasons, he chose Corey Hart, and it's worked out real well for both parties.
Yeah, traditionally, I think most managers go for an on-base guy in that leadoff hole. I hearken back to the Atlanta Braves when they moved from Milwaukee in the middle 60s. They had Felipe Alou leading off for that lineup. And he was a jarring presence. That's a term you chose well.
2-1 changeup misses down low, and it's 3 balls and a strike to Jerry Hairston Jr. Ryan Braun waiting on deck, equally as jarring, but in the 3-hole as per usual this afternoon. And the 3-1 from Capuano's in for a strike, a full count now. Well, for Chris Capuano, who turned 33 yesterday, this start this afternoon represents a bit of a change as to how he has approached his craft every 5 afternoons. as he loses Jerry Hairston on ball 4. Terry Collins told us before the game that Capuano has really changed his regimen, his pre-start ritual leading into today's start.
Normally he would go out toward the bullpen about 40 minutes in advance, throw long, and by the time he got to the 5th inning, he was tired. So today he's taken more of a traditional approach, and he went down to the bullpen about 20 minutes before starting to throw. He did not throw long, and Terry and Dan Warthen, in the hopes of getting him longer into the game, we'll see how it works.
Here's Ryan Braun, and Capuano starts him with strike 1. It's a quick exit yesterday for Ryan Braun in the series opener as Prince Fielder waits next. Braun was ejected last night by then home plate umpire Angel Campos for taking issue with the strike zone. And it didn't look like they gave Ryan a real long leash to plead his case. Let's take you back to last night, and Ryan taking issue with this Mike Pelfrey pitch. I don't think he had a whole lot to complain about, if you ask me.
No, it's a funny thing. The Mets have been talking to Mike Pelfrey about keeping the ball down, and Mike's probably thinking, I've got to have that pitch called a strike. I'm supposed to keep it down right around the knees. It was very close, but Angel said, nope, I've heard enough.
Braun sends a ball out to deep center field. Pagan looking up, and that one is gone. And for the second straight game in Flushing, the Brewers have posted tallies in the first. It's 2-0 Milwaukee.
Mets fans here are probably thinking, wait a minute, when our guys hit a ball like that, it's an out. Ryan Braun comes in with his 23 home runs to make it 24 on this changeup. Not a bad pitch. Perhaps had too much of the plate. As an old pitching coach used to say, how can a ball be hit that far and not be that bad of a pitch? 415 feet to almost dead center.
And Prince Fielder follows up with a swing and a high drive into the corner and a ball that'll twist foul. Fielder with 27 and a team high 92 runs batted in. That is quite a masher's punch in the 3 and 4 spot. 24 for Braun now, 27 for Fielder. And they have made it a habit more often than any duo the last couple of years of picking the same ball game in which to go deep. As Prince fouls that one off him, off his hip, it looked like, and it's 0-2.
Had Prince not swung at that pitch, perhaps it would have hit him. Ball tailing in on the left-handed fielder.
Oh, 0-2 the count. Now Prince wants to think about it. Since 2007, Prince Fielder and Ryan Braun have homered in the same game 32 times, the most of any duo since that period. Half of that's already done with Braun's 2-run home run here moments ago. And the 1-2 to Prince. Little inside out pop into shallow left. Tejada and Bayer there, and nobody can make the catch. This is how the Brewers have done it, Tim, and it's been early leads. It's been terrific pitching. They've leaned on these guys in the middle of their order. Not just one phase of the game, but this is a team playing its best baseball of the season right now.
Well, they have not really been knocking the cover off the ball recently. As we said in the opening, their pitching has just been superb. It's a great job of pitching by Capuano to a terrific hitter. After trying to jam him, he comes back away to get him.
Second strikeout for Capuano today. 2 gone now, and that'll bring up Casey McGee. McGee at 243. And the number may be a little bit deceiving because the results for Casey have been much better the last couple of months as a result of the pressure being eliminated, at least in his own mind. That's the take of his manager. Take a look at what he did last season. He was named the Brewers team MVP for 2010. His numbers against left-handed pitchers like Capuano, very good. But the results have not been the same this year. 2 balls and no strikes, the count to Casey McGee. A strike at the knees, 2-1. There was a sense that for Casey McGee, there was a lot of pressure to reset the bar after a real breakthrough campaign last season. In fact, he's one of a couple of players on the field today for whom that can be said. Been a lot of dialogue that way regarding Angel Pagan of the Mets. Two balls and 2 strikes, the count to McGee.
Terry Collins telling us in our meeting before the game, as far as Pagan was concerned, that a lot of times when a guy has a good year, the next year he expects to do better. And that could be the case with McGee.
And a swing and a miss. Not before a 2-run home run from Ryan Braun can start the scoring this afternoon. A half inning gone in Flushing. The Brewers on top 2-zip. New York Mets starting lineup brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Angel Pagan, the switch hitter, leads off in center field. Justin Turner bats in the 2-hole. David Wright, the 5-time All-Star, hits third. Jerry Hairston, Jason Bay, and Ronnie Paulino 4 through 6. Nick Evans makes his first start in over a week. He's at first base this afternoon. Ruben Tejada, the shortstop, and Chris Capuano, the starter, rounded out against a guy who'll turn 35 years old on Monday. Randy Wolf looking for his 11th winner of the year as we take a look at Randy's sprint pitcher profile.
Yeah, the only similarity between the two pitchers today, they're left-handed. We talked about Capuano with success early in the game. Not necessarily so with Randy Wolf. If you're going to get him, you have to get him early. He's a contact pitcher like Capuano with a slow curveball.
His first pitch of the ballgame in for strike one to Angel Pagan, a .261 hitter at the start of play this afternoon. Pagan, Turner, and Wright to begin the comeback for the Mets, down 2-0 after a half inning today. And quickly Pagan down 0-2. Justin Turner waiting next. Wolf, a quick worker, his 0-2 pitch home is fouled back. Randy Wolf today, Tim, is looking for a win in his 5th consecutive start. And symptomatic of how well the Brewers have been pitching as a group has been Randy Wolf in the past month.
Yeah, pitching is contagious, and the Brewers have that contagion as part of their starting pitching staff. They have been awesome since the All-Star break.
Still 0-2 to Angel Pagan. Well, Rick Kranitz and manager Ron Renicky have plenty to smile about. Certainly Ron was all smiles before the ball game with us today. And when you're up by 7.5 and all aspects of your game seem to be firing away, there's not much to frown about. A 2.63 ERA since the break, the best in the game. The next 0-2 home to Pagan is the breaking ball that misses 1-2.
Matt, in 1968, I was fortunate to be a catcher on a team that threw 31 shutouts. 1968, that was the great year of Gibson's 1.12, and it became very competitive after a while. Guys just went out there and they did not want to give up a run. You think the competition is only between hitters like Braun and Fielder, but it can carry over into starting pitchers also. Just think about the Atlanta Braves and Glavine Smoltz and Maddox. Steve Avery in that loop.
A comebacker for Wolf. And one gone to start the afternoon for the visiting left-hander. Well, to put some numbers on it, this is how good the Brewers have been on the mound since July 26th. They are 20-3 over that period. Their team ERA is barely over 2 runs a game. Greinke and Wolf are undefeated over that period. John Axford has saved 9 with an ERA under a run. And we didn't even have room on this thing, Timmy, for Yvonne Gallardo and Sean Markham, who've also been terrific.
Well, they have 3 #1 starters in their rotation when you think about it. Markham could be, Greinke could be, Gallardo certainly could be. He may be, in fact. But you put them on most teams and they'd be #1 guys.
Justin Turner takes a fastball, 2 balls and no strikes to the Mets 2-hole hitter. Now, Randy Wolf has had good success against the Mets the past number of years, of course, dating back to his days in this division as a Philly in the NL East. But it was said of the Brewers even as far back on opening day as David Wright prepares to hit next, that when Randy Wolf's your #4 starter, you're in pretty good shape.
Guy coming into this game has won 114 major league games. He's pitched over 200 innings 5 times.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Justin Turner. These would all be categorized as good problems for Ron Renicky and Rick Kranitz when you've got 3 co-#1s and your burden is how you're going to line them up in a postseason series. Of course, Ron would never presume that far in advance. Turner pokes it into the opposite field. Extra bases with 1 gone in the home first.
That was a good job by Justin Turner on the curveball away. He goes away. When you're playing with a guy like David Wright hitting behind you, you learn how to approach not only left-handed pitching, but the 2-strike pitch, using the other way. Nice job by Turner for the Mets' first hit of the ball game.
So with a runner in scoring position now, that'll bring in David Wright. Abbreviated numbers for David in 2011, having missed time with a stress fracture in his lower back, something that cost him the better part of 2 months on the disabled list. And the 1-0 pitch is swung on and missed. Before going on the shelf, David was hitting just .226. Since coming off right at his career average at the start of play, .305.
Yeah, that's a predictable graphic because he had a stress fracture in his lower back. Here's Jose Reyes.
And of course, Jose Reyes still not back to active duty. You're nursing yet another in a series of hamstring setbacks. The good news for the Mets is that he's getting closer every day, and Terry Collins is encouraged with his progress. We're resuming what they call baseball activities. In fact, earlier today, he was able to work out with the team. He has said himself he doesn't quite trust the hamstring yet. But certainly he's moving around free and easy these days. David Wright's aboard.
Jose Reyes, by the way, if he maintains that league leading average of .336, he will become the first Mets player in their 49-year history to lead the league in hitting. He needs 40 plate appearances to give him 502 plate appearances, which is the requirement to lead the league in hitting. But he's got a couple of guys breathing down his neck, and one of them, who's 1 for 1 in this game, is Steve Braun, or Ryan Braun, I beg your pardon.
Ryan Braun started play at .327. Breathing down his neck indeed. Here's Scott Hairston now, and Hairston takes a strike. Scott at .246 to start the ball game today. 7 home runs and 24 runs batted in. Well-traveled right-handed power threat in the lineup for the Mets today. Scott looking across the field and into the other dugout to see brother Jerry. In fact, this is the 10th time that brothers Jerry and Scott have started in the same game as opponents, and those combinations have come over the years with the two wearing various uniforms. Each has been well traveled in his career. Nothing in 2, the count to Jared, to Scott rather. Oh, I'll get my Hairstons right. Two runners aboard with only one gone, and a swing and a miss.
That was a cut fastball, the first of the game that Wolf is throwing. You can see his catcher, George Gutierrez, setting up inside. So the cutter to get Hairston.
So now Jason Bay will try to pick up a base runner here. Entering play this afternoon, mired in an 0 for 20 funk. And it's the second such long drought that Bay has endured in 2011. And Wolf starts him with an off-speed pitch in for a strike. Really been an uphill battle for Jason Bay since signing to come to the Mets last year.
It really has, hasn't it?
Concussion syndrome having a large part to do with his frustrations in 2010. And perhaps, Tim, another guy who's felt the burden of trying to justify a big free agent deal.
Yeah, that's more common than a guy like Angel Pagan or Casey McGee, as you mentioned earlier, having good years last year and then trying to improve on it. I think Jason Bay trying to justify that big contract. You see that often in the first years, and I think the Mets thought that Jason would snap out of it this year, but not so far.
It's a 158 average over his last week and a half. As we mentioned, there's an 0 for 20 that's active mixed in there. 3-time All-Star before he got to Flushing. And Wolf's 2-1 pitch is shot back up the box and off Josh Wilson onto the center field. Turner comes around to score, and the Mets are on the board in their half of the first.
Josh Wilson, in paying attention to the runner at second base, had moved about a half step back toward his position. And then he tried to adjust right there. He tried to adjust. I think it looked like he came to his right and kind of in on that ball. I thought he may have been blocked out by the umpire initially. That ball scalded on the in-between hop, and the Mets are on the board.
So now Ronnie Paulino, a 2-1 ball game. Runners at the corners with 2 away here in the first. Already much more early scoring than some may have guessed given the matchup. Both Wolf and his counterpart Capuano have been strong early in ball games this year. Right at third, Bay the runner at first with a run in and 2 away. Ronnie Paulino splits. Better work against left-handed pitching. A .294 hitter overall. As he punches that one to Fielder at first, who'll take care of it to end the inning. But the Mets do cut their deficit in half in their first half inning at the plate. On a gorgeous summer day for baseball in New York. 2-1 Milwaukee. Is sponsored by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. By the makers of New Bayer Advanced Aspirin, the official pain reliever of Major League Baseball. And by Ford. Drive one. This is your football season. Create your fantasy football team today at foxsports.com. Fox Fantasy Football is brand new and better than ever. Play today at foxsports.com/fantasy. Fall is in the air, but not in the immediate future, not in terms of the fan base in Milwaukee, who is so used to, so conditioned to turning their attention to the Packers this time of year. But the great play of the Brewers in 2011, in fact, the last number of vintages, has pushed football season, I guess, closer to the middle of the plate than it used to be in that part of the world.
Yeah, the Chris Rose talking about how the Brewers have drawn 3 million people the last 3 or 4 years if they predictably do it this year. They've had 24 sellouts this year and have just played about as good as they can play. And they are gathering storm heading into October.
Unieski Betancourt behind a Ballman, 2 strikes. The requisite cheesehead shot. Hey, why not? Why not a World Series title and a Super Bowl championship in the same city, the same region at the same time? It happened last in 2004, the Patriots and Red Sox. Folks in Milwaukee, such a great fan base there, hungry for a baseball winner ever since 1982.
The 2-1 to Betancourt is swung on and missed. Check that. The 2-2 is swung on and missed to punch him out. If you're into fantasy football, play at foxsports.com/fantasy. And I'm guessing that fantasy football people in Milwaukee, Green Bay, they like that guy.
Yep, you got it. Super Bowl champs.
Coming off a terrific year. One gone now for Josh Wilson. All 4 outs recorded by Chris Capuano, by the way, have come via the strikeout this afternoon. Wilson has worn a couple of different uniforms this season. Claimed off waivers by the Brewers at the end of May off the Diamondbacks roster. He had actually begun the year at AAA Reno as Diamondbacks property. Came up to the big league club at the end of April. Designated for assignment. He actually went to camp as a Mariner. So it's been a series of short-term rentals for Josh all year. 2 balls and a strike.
Josh can tell his grandchildren, and so can Randy Wolf, that in Randy Wolf's last start, Josh Wilson started a triple play, the 6th triple play in Milwaukee history.
Swing and a miss at a ball in dirt. In fact, all the participants in this play Monday behind Randy Wolf are out there today. A ground ball, and it was Wilson to Betancourt, over to Fielder, and very alertly back to George Kataris rather, to finish off the triple killing Monday afternoon in Milwaukee. A full count now, 3 balls and 2 strikes. The count to George Kataris. To Josh Wilson, that is, with Kataris waiting next. And a bouncer to third. We'll get George Kataris up there. We have to swing it down there ourselves. And with Kataris scheduled, you just saw his work on the triple play. We check in with foxsports.com senior writer Ken Rosenthal. Kenny.
And I was talking to Josh Wilson about that triple play, and I said, hey, did you get a lot of congratulatory texts? He said, no, it was my 2nd triple play. It's kind of old. The first, he started that one as well, but from shortstop, 2009 with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And the interesting thing is, the last out of that triple play was also made by Matt Kemp.
Kenny, thanks. And, you know, I mean, it's just not one of those things you see at the ballpark very often. And when Prince Fielder spun and threw home, a lot of folks said, oh, yeah, there's another guy out there to try to get. We'll have a little bit more on that triple play as we continue.
How about a good question? Is that the first guy who started a triple play from 2 different positions?
Oh, we got people on the internet looking into that right now.
Get after it.
presented by Gillette is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Mets trail the Brewers 2-1 through an inning and a half worth of baseball. Nick Evans will lead things off in the home half of the second, bottom third of the order against Randy Wolf, Evans, Tejada, and Capuano. Nick Evans, been a while for him to not only start a ball game, but start a ball game at the position he plays today. He was last out there as a starter over a week ago, back on the 11th, got a nod in right field. But he's starting at first base this afternoon for the first time since the 7th of August. Lucas Duda gets a day today. Sit him down against a left-hander. That remains one of the great challenges for Terry Collins moving forward, Tim, to try to get a further look and a better evaluation as to what he has moving into 2012 and beyond. Popped him up. Out there in shallow right is Josh Wilson. 3 other games going on in addition to this one early on this Saturday. For a DirecTV game break, we check in with Chris Rose.
Matt, the reigning NL Central champion Cincinnati Reds are under 500, but don't blame that guy. All-star Joey Votto, 3rd in the NL in hitting. Little bingo here knocks in Dat Dude BP on Twitter. Some people also know him as Brandon Phillips. It's 1-zip Reds over the Pirates in the 3rd. Remember to see every baseball game in HD. The most in HD. It's 1-800-DirecTV. Matt and Tim.
Chris, thanks. 1 gone, and Ruben Tejada stands in here in the second. Wasn't too long ago we were talking about the Pirates involved in a 3-way battle atop the NL Central, but they have certainly fallen on harder times the last few weeks.
They have vanished.
That's as accurate as it gets. They sure have. Starting play today, 14.5 back.
You know, Matt, to get to the comments you made before we had to throw it to Chris Rose, I mean, Terry Collins just deserves an awful lot of credit, as does Sandy Alderson, the general manager of the Mets, in what they have done with this club. I mean, the Mets are 4 games under 500 coming into today's game, and that is remarkable with the strife that has confronted this organization all year, off the field, on the field, the problems with ownership. As you take a look at Sandy Alderson, he was the engineer of the Oakland Athletics in the late 80s, early 90s. He and Tony La Russa formed that tandem in those days very successfully, I might add.
Ball and 2 strikes to Ruben Tejada. Yeah, we mentioned that to Terry Collins today and asked him, you ever feel like you need to kind of represent to a media base and a fan base that is prone to cynicism, to be honest, that, you know, you guys are okay. This is a much better team than perhaps it was given credit for and is still being given credit for. And he said no, because he can't help but think back on the games that they've lost. On a couple of hops to 3rd for McGee, and 2 away. So they're 60 and 64, but according to Terry Collins, they could very much be making a case for looking at their 70th win today instead of trying for their 61st.
That's true, because Terry said he could think of about 15 games where just common baseball knowledge and sense could have won them games. They have had, for instance, 3 base runners thrown out at home without sliding. 3 different base runners without sliding.
Bullpen issues, defensive lapses. It's all been an unfortunate part of the Mets 2011 dialogue. 2 gone and the base is empty here for Chris Capuano. And behind a ball and 2 strikes. In fact, to that point, Tim, the Mets have endured 10 losses when leading after 6 innings this year. And that is, again, unfortunately, one of those categories that Terry Collins prefer not being among league leaders or trailers, depending on your point of view. but that is the case in 2011. A 1-2-3 frame in the second for Randy Wolf. Will return to New York after a word from your local Fox station. To Major League Baseball on Fox, presented by Gillette Fusion Pro Glide. The Brewers on top of the Mets through 2 innings of play, 2-1 Milwaukee. Before the game, Eric LeGrand was on the field, a guest of David Wright and the Mets. Eric was paralyzed from the neck down after making a tackle for Rutgers University in the Army game last October. His road to recovery has been miraculous, and it's a great testament to the human spirit. He's been standing upright. He's renewed movement in his arms and has beaten many of the doctor's predictions in terms of his recovery. Here is a guest of the Mets and coming along nicely. A great story, and was here earlier today visiting with David Wright and company. Randy Wolf leading things off, a comebacker to his opposite number, and there's one gone for Capuano in the third. Chris Capuano is a comeback story in a different way. Certainly not the kind of life-threatening problems that Eric LeGrand faced, and not the same kind of recovery, but twice, as you take another look at Eric with his family, Chris Capuano went through Tommy John surgery. And when you're a baseball player, a pitcher specifically, one Tommy John surgery is one thing. But coming off of that process twice puts you in really uncharted territory.
Remarkable it is.
0-1 the count to Corey Hart, batting with one gun and the base is empty. For more on the comeback and how Capuano has fared after the second surgery, we check back in with Ken Rosenthal.
Well, Matt, the two surgeries were in 2002 and 2008. And Capuano told me that the real issue for him was in 09, the summer of 09. He couldn't make the transition from bullpen work to game speed without having more pain in that elbow. And he was down. He wasn't sure whether he could make the comeback. It was an emotional roller coaster. But what happened was that September, he went to the Brewers rookie ball affiliate in Helena, Montana. And the enthusiasm of those young kids kind of brought him back a little bit and got him going and convinced him, reminded him why he loved the game.
Well, I would think that you'd really have to love the game, Tim and Kenny, to to go through what he's gone through to come back from that twice. There's Jerry Hairston now with 2 away.
And also kudos to the Milwaukee organization to have coddled him through those times and allowed him 2 chances. It's Ron Renicky. He was with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim at the time. This is, of course, his first rookie season as a major league manager.
Ball and a strike to count to Jerry Hairston, batting with the bases empty and 2 gone. And a fastball misses up and away.
You never know what's going to go on in the postseason, but Milwaukee with as good a chance as anybody with that pitching as well as they have, and the meat of the lineup. The last rookie manager to win a World Series, by the way, Bob Brenly in 2001.
Well, he's certainly done a great job at pushing buttons in his early in his tenure with the Brewers. Take a look at the first year success stories. Prior to Bob Brenly, Ralph Houck with the '61 Yankees. And you hear Ron tell it, and he's not a guy that sits back and thumps his chest and takes a lot of credit. He defers a lot of this to the clubhouse, and it's really a very interesting group that he has. It's self-policed in large part by the big guy you see on the left-hand side of your screen, Prince Fielder. But he's got a couple of veterans that don't play every day, from whom he really gauges the temperature of the team. Mark Kotsay and Craig Counsell he uses as a sounding board to a degree. And there's ball 4 to Hairston.
Yeah, interestingly, Craig Counsell, a member of that 2001 Diamondback team that won it for Bob Brenly and the Arizona Diamondbacks. And they could be back again this year.
Here's Ryan Braun now, set up with another runner aboard in front of him. As you take a look at Craig Counsell, a Milwaukee area native from Whitefish Bay, Wisconsin, whose dad used to work for the Brewers in the ticket office back in the old County Stadium days. Leadership in a different way from Ryan Braun and Prince Fielder, the guys that are out there every night. But the veteran presence is laid by guys like Counsell and Kotsay. Here is Braun, who homered in the first. It came after a Jerry Hairston walk. 24th of the year, RBI 79 and 80 for the four-time All-Star. You know, for fans perhaps watching outside of the New York area, Tim, and when you hear the airplanes landing and taking off at LaGuardia.
What planes?
You having done Met games for so long and having played in this part of the country for so much of your playing career, is it that way? Do you just not hear it after a while?
That's not true, no.
I mean, every time I'm here and we hear that, you think a guy's in the middle of his windup. It's got to be in your head someplace.
It's disconcerting, no question about it. Feel like you're part of the runway, part of the tarmac.
Three balls and no strikes. Check that to 3-0. 3-0 on Ryan Braun. Whether there are planes landing and taking off, whatever other distractions happening around Ryan Braun, he has been consistently productive throughout his career, as those numbers indicate. And in a chance to do more damage here in the third. Ball 4, Capuano loses him on a 4-pitch walk, so back-to-back walks by the Met left-hander, and that'll set up Prince Fielder with 2 away. Fielder, a strikeout victim, one of the 5 strikeouts hung by Capuano so far today, and he's got Hairston and Braun aboard with 2 out. It'll be too soon to tell And I don't think anyone will know, Tim, until after the game when Capuano addresses the question as to whether the routine change that you documented before the game today played any role in his relative success this afternoon.
I don't know that you can look for any immediate change anyway. I'm not sure Dan Warthen and Terry Collins are looking for an immediate change, but perhaps a gradual change over time.
Oh, and 1 the count to Prince Fielder. 2 a ball and a strike now. Fielder in such a crucial year for him personally, as he is one of the big free agent prizes at the end of 2011.
And when you think about it, Albert Pujols has had to take a lot of heat off of Fielder because almost no one is asking Prince about anything. But Albert has done all the grunt work.
Big numbers with runners in scoring position. Big numbers any way you slice it. And you're right about that. Pujols has grabbed all the free agent to be attention in every place but Milwaukee this year. There are those that feel like a prolonged Brewers run into the postseason might help the team's chances in retaining Fielder.
In a lot of ways. That's true.
There are others who feel that there are teams like the Washington Nationals specifically who seem to have the deeper pockets that might just be waiting around for that moment to sign the big prize. Ken Rosenthal, what's the latest on the Fielder discussions in 2012?
Well, they're not happening yet, of course, Matt, but the point you make is a really good one. Scott Boras represents Steven Strasburg. He represents Bryce Harper. He represents Jason Worth, the Nationals' top 3 picks this year, and other Nationals as well. So you can understand why some people feel that Prince will end up in Washington.
A possible destination when the big market teams are discussed. Yankees, Red Sox, they're pretty good at that spot, but a team like the Nationals might be set up in good shape.
They're even thinking of changing the name of the nation's capital to Boris D.C.
I think they've already done that unofficially. It would really break the spirit of the Brewers fan base if, for whatever reason, they aren't able to keep Prince in the fold, because the team's resurgence has been directly linked to this core group of young players, Braun, Fielder, and Weeks, all emerging at the same time. Still 2-2.
That's an interesting question, is it not? Will the St. Louis Cardinals be affected more than the Milwaukee Brewers if they lose Pujols as opposed to Fielder leaving Milwaukee? I think more in St. Louis than in Milwaukee. I think the Milwaukee Brewers, and of course that's an arguable point, but I think the Brewers have a better supporting cast than the Cardinals do.
I think you get a lot of agreement from people on that. But again, the destination spots, I mean, look at the kind of money Prince Fielder and Albert Pujols are going to draw next year.
Yeah.
And you can take 20 teams and write them right out of the picture to begin with, because the price of poker is going to be too steep.
Right.
Full count to Prince Fielder. 3 balls and 2 strikes with 2 on and 2 out here. A 2-1 Brewers lead in the third. There go the runners on 3 and 2. And Fielder yanks a drive into the corner and right, hooking a fair ball 3-run home run for Prince Fielder. My goodness, into the top tank. Well, we talked earlier about the frequency that Ryan Braun and Prince Fielder homered together. And they've done it again this afternoon. That's 33 times since 2007 that they've gone deep in the same ball game, the most over that period.
Capuano trying to come inside with a fastball, and that ball ended up about 440 feet away from home plate. What a blast that was.
We talk about the price of poker, and it seems to go up every time Prince Fielder takes the field.
And he takes the field for every game. He is the only player in the major leagues who has started and played every inning of every game.
Casey McGee now. 5-1 Milwaukee. A 2-run home run for Ryan Braun. A 3-run shot for Prince Fielder.
And if the Brewers do make it to the World Series, the reason that the Brewers will have home field advantage is because of Prince Fielder. The 3-run shot off C.J. Wilson of the Texas Rangers in the All-Star game in Arizona.
Well, what a great point. A swing that was relevant for so many reasons for Brewer fans. Ball and 2 strikes to Casey McGee. You know, it's been hard to wipe the smile off Prince's face, and it's not gone without notice in the clubhouse, in the coach's room, in the broadcast booth. Winning has such a large part to do with that, of course. McGee with the ball out to center field. Pagan turns a couple of times and puts it away at the track. Not before Prince Fielder can do more damage. An 89-mile-an-hour fastball by Chris Capuano got into the right field seats at about 107. 5-1 Milwaukee. It's the great game of baseball at all levels. See how they're making kids' baseball dreams come true across the USA. It's ChevyBaseball.com. Randy Wolf pitching with a 5-1 lead, courtesy of a 3-run home run by Prince Fielder last half inning. And it's the top of the Mets order in the third. Pagan, Turner, and Wright. A ball and a strike to count from the veteran left-hander Randy Wolf. Justin Turner has one of the 2 Met hits the first time through the order today. No, not only was Randy Wolf the beneficiary of the triple play that we looked at earlier, but in that last start of his, There were 3 double plays turned behind him as well. Still 1-2 to Pagan, and it's just further proof of all the things happening at the right time for the Brewers. You hear it said so often, and it's an awful cliche, but the ball bounces differently depending on whether you're winning or losing. And this Brewer team has had all the right bounces the last month plus. Pagan rips it right to McGee at third.
On cue.
Time for a direct TV game break on cue. We check in with Chris Rose.
Matt, the Dodgers and Rockies and defense taking center stage. Justin Sellers the shot, but look at EY Jr. out there near the fence. And later on, Mr. Colorado Rocky Todd Helton, the solo shot, his 14th of the year, that off of Ted Lilly. 2-2 in the third. Remember to see every baseball game the most in HD. It's 1-800-DIRECTV. And Tim McCarver, are you more surprised that it's the Colorado Rockies or the Cincinnati Reds that are less relevant this year?
I'm more surprised the Cincinnati Reds are less relevant than the Rockies. I didn't think the Rockies could compete with the San Francisco Giants. I thought the Giants would win it again rather handily in the National League West, particularly after they got Carlos Beltran from the Mets. But Beltran on the DL now, and the Giants are woefully short offensively.
Ball and 2 strikes to Justin Turner. That's an interesting thing to kick around, because those are the 2 teams that come up most frequently when the pundits are asked about the biggest disappointments of 2011 so far. It's a very unfair word to use, but based on expectations, the Rockies and Reds have left a little bit on the table. That's popped on the right side of the infield for Prince Fielder, and 2 quick outs for Randy Wolf in the third. Cincinnati starting play 12.5 games behind Milwaukee. The incumbents, the defending champs, 3 games under 500 today. Here's David Wright now with 2 away and the base is empty. David drew a base on balls in the first. And on the first pitch, it's 0-1 as that one reaches the seats foul.
By the way, earlier in the week, last Sunday, as a matter of fact, Cody Ross of the Giants hit a 2-run home run. That was after 21 straight solo home runs by one team. 21 straight home runs with no one on, and that's a major league record. No team has ever had that happen, which I find remarkable, really.
Well, the tides have sure shifted, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about 3-run home runs with the kind of frequency certainly that we were 10 years ago, 5 years ago for that point.
I see your drift.
Giants have been punchless of late. Carlos Beltran on the DL, Aubrey Huff, the only Giant to qualify for the batting title, and he'd be 55th in that race.
That's a great note. Wow.
Lean times for the defending World Series champs. In fact, the Giants were shut out yesterday for the 12th time. In the division era, the defending World Series champs have only been shut out more times than the Giants of 2011 on 3 occasions. The 89 Dodgers, 72 Pirates, and 75 A's. I mean, we're talking about the defending World Series champs. We're not talking about a second division team. A full count now, 3 balls and 2 strikes to David Wright. Mets fans don't want to hear about the Giants lament.
No. The Mets fans do not want to hear about any other team's lament but their own. And there are a lot of lamentations on which they can dwell.
The next 3-2 to David Wright, a fly ball out to center field. And this will be playable for Jerry Hairston to retire the side. 7 in a row set down by Randy Wolf. Still 5-1 Milwaukee. Gillette is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Sprint altogether now. And by Warner Brothers Pictures Contagion in theaters September 9th. Yuniesky Betancourt leads things off in the top of the 4th inning, and we've heard stories of the player to be named later, but this one borders on the ridiculous. Yuniesky Betancourt has been in the big league since 2005, and we all this time have known his name to be Betancourt, just as it's written out, almost phonetically.
Hard T.
Hard T.
Betancourt.
Apparently, this season, and this being his 6th in Major League Baseball, the Brewers played the Los Angeles Dodgers earlier this year. And the Hall of Fame Spanish voice of the Dodgers, Jaime Jarrín, told the world on that occasion that the gentleman's name is pronounced Betancourt.
There we go. We'll just
cross that T off.
Cross the T off. Yeah.
And, you know, folks around the team and folks in the media said, how could this be that we've thought it was Betancourt all these years and you're telling us otherwise? Well, being the reporter that he is, Jaime Jarrín went to the player himself and said, Yuniesky, tell the people how your name is pronounced. And he said Betancourt. And Betancourt is robbed on a very good play by Ruben Tejada. Next one away.
Betancourt, by any other name, will not walk as a hitter. Last year, in almost 600 plate appearances, he had 23 walks. He has 14 this year. He is the freest swinger among major league hitters.
There's Josh Wilson now. Betancourt retired. So if you hear us refer to the Brewers shortstop in a name other than what you're used to from this point forward, that's why.
Yuniesky is the second Yuniesky in Major League history. The other was Yuniesky Maya, M-A-Y-A, who is also from Cuba.
And we're pretty sure his name is still pronounced Maya.
Yes. Yes. Don't drop the A.
0-2 to Josh Wilson. George Kottaras waiting on deck. Wilson grounded to third base in his first try today. And Capuano tries to make him chase a fastball. It's a 1-2 count now. A called strike 3. And there are 2 away in the 4th. As we remind you, next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, the National League wildcard leading Braves take on these Mets, or the American League Central Division leading Tigers battle the Twins in Minnesota. Some will see the Pirates square off against the Cardinals. Next week's telecast of Fox Saturday Baseball, presented by Gillette Fusion Pro Glide, begins at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific. Check your local listings for the game and start time in your area. 2 gone now for George Kataris, who gets the start every 5th day, receiving Randy Wolf. Ron Renick is reluctant to call it a personalized catcher relationship, but it seems to be just that. And a very quick 1-2-3 at bat, and a very quick 1-2-3 inning for Chris Capuano in the 4th. Still 5-1 Milwaukee. Chronic Obstructive Pulmonary Disease Awareness Day at Citi Field as the Mets honor the memory of longtime employee Bob Mant. COPD affects approximately 24 million Americans, but only 12 million are diagnosed. Bob Mant, a longtime Mets employee, was honored before the game today. For more awareness, you can go to www.copdfoundation.org. Scott Hairston leads things off in the home half of the 4th and sends a ball to Casey McGee. A 5-3 ground out opens the home half of inning number 4. Jason Bay now. He drove in the Mets' only run with a base hit back in the 1st. And Randy Wolf comes right after him with strike 1. Bay has had some success against Randy Wolf. including the RBI single in the first. Now 6 for 13 against the Milwaukee left-hander. Not a huge sample size, but when you can snap out of an 0 for 20, as Jason Bay was able to do earlier today, any favorable matchup is good news. Bay behind a ball and 2 strikes. That's wrapped on the ground for Betancourt. Well, Jason Bay got the attaboys from his third base coach Chip Hale, who's wearing a mic for us in the first inning this afternoon.
Go, 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 go! Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on! Atta boy. Beat the shift.
Chip, one of the managers, or one of the would-be managers, who was in the running for the gig here with the Mets before Terry Collins was chosen. Spent a lot of years with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Before we can even talk much about Chip Hale, it's a very quick 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 in a row retired by Randy Wolf. Capuano, different results certainly through 4 innings of baseball this afternoon. Capuano's been touched up by a 2-run home run off the bat of Ryan Braun and a 3-run shot from Prince Fielder. That's been the story, and that's Randy Wolf. Wolf one lead through 4. Wolf himself leads off the 5th, swings at the first pitch and sends a fly ball out to center for Angel Pagan. Watching the progress on Capuano, he's up to 76 pitches now as he goes to work on Corey Hart. And this has been that line that Terry Collins pointed out to us before the ball game, to where the results aren't as favorable for Chris. And so they watch him with a little bit more focus starting around 70-75 pitches.
The Brewers have 2 hits on the game. Preceding both hits were walks. Sometimes it's not the walk that gets on base, but it's what you do after the walk and the hitters that you do it to.
2-0 pitch to Corey Hart, swinging a big drive out to left. Bay backing up to the wall, and he puts it away as he crashes up against the pad. A very loud out number 2.
Home run in any ballpark. But getting back to that, when pitchers are wild, it's not only the walk that they give up, but again, what they do after that walk. They seek the middle of the plate. And when you seek the middle of the plate to the guys who make their living hitting the ball out of the ballpark, that's why it's bad to walk the guys in front of them. If they hit the ball out of the park, you want them to hit solo shots like the Giants did 21 times in a row.
Chris Capuano up to 80 pitches now as he works to Jerry Hairston Jr. with 2 out and the bases empty. Randy Wolf's retired 10 in a row. Capuano has set down 6 straight. And as Tim points out, only 2 hits for the Brewers today, but a 2-run home run and a 3-run home run have certainly lopsided the scoreboard this afternoon. Hairston's been a part of that. He has walked and scored twice. Part of that revolving door story at second base. And until Ricky Weeks comes back, it'll be a combination of Hairston, who's playing center today, Josh Wilson, who's at second base this afternoon. Craig Counsell gets a shot out there every once in a while, the veteran. Weeks coming along better than anticipated. Coming back off the ankle injury, he's been able to run on a treadmill and resume baseball activities. Nobody's rushing him back. The Brewers are playing that well, but no one disagrees that they're a better team with a healthy Ricky Weeks.
And it's not the same when you're running on a treadmill and running during baseball activities, as Ron Renicky told us. Plus, with a sprained ankle and Ricky Weeks weighing 230 pounds, I didn't realize he was that big. But seeing him in the clubhouse today, you realize when you're that big, it's a lot more on your ankle than if you were a smaller guy, stopping, starting, doing all the things you have to do at second base.
On the ground at third for David Wright, and a 1-2-3 inning for Chris Capuano in the 5th. Do I hear this right? Chris Rose is going to the Brewers bullpen. It's coming up next.
Get Rose up.
Sponsored by Gillette Fusion Pro Glide. Turn shaving into gliding and skeptics into believers. Back with Tim McCarver, Matt Vasgersian, Ken Rosenthal, and Chris Rose with us as we go to the bottom half of the 5th inning. Nick Evans, Ruben Tejada, and Chris Capuano against Randy Wolf. We know that Kenny's on the field near the dugouts, and we understand that Chris Rose is standing by with a couple of special guests elsewhere. Chris.
Yeah, Matt, when you've won 20 of your last 23 games, you can afford to have a little fun in the bullpen. I thought I was with Frankie Rodriguez and John Axford, but apparently I'm with K-Rod with the specs and John Axford with the stash. I love the look you've got grooming right here.
Yeah, you like it? I like it too.
How long have you gone with that?
Actually, for like 2 minutes. I started itching, bothered me, so I gotta get rid of it and pretty soon.
It's grown in nicely. If I could somehow ask you a serious question about being back in New York, you spent parts of 3 seasons with the Mets. I know later today you expect to get the ball out there. What are the emotions going to be like pitching against your old team?
It's going to be, not so emotional out there, but definitely, I don't know what's going to be the reaction of the fans, but I'm having fun. I mean, they stood behind me for many years, for 2.5 years, so I'm really grateful for that, and hopefully I can get netting and get my job done.
Hard to tell that with duct tape on your face you're having a lot of fun. John, let's move over to you. 33 consecutive saves converted for you. Yes, you're John.
Yeah.
Okay, Frankie. 33 consecutive save opportunities converted for you, but when they traded for an all-star closer like this on July 12th, why have things worked out so well for you guys in the 8th and 9th inning?
Well, we got Frankie for a reason, which was to win ball games. We needed some help at the back end of the bullpen there, and Frankie obviously has been a fantastic closer, throughout his entire career. And, to have, I think, either us in the 8th or the 9th, I was definitely excited about it. If I was going to be in the 8th inning, I was going to be pumped. If he was going to be in the 8th inning, I'd still be pumped. It's been a good matchup so far.
Okay, I understand that you guys, the whole bullpen comes out and runs every day. You've got a little T-shirt. If you can explain this to me, John or Frankie or whomever I'm interviewing, is it maybe T-Plush at this point? I don't even know anymore. So what is this?
It was started by LaTroy Hawkins. We're just such a close group of guys. We have a Brotherhood T-shirt with a nice little skull baseball guy on it. No last names, just numbers. Carpe diem. It's what we just try and live by every day. We're always out with each other. We spend a lot of time together, have a lot of bullpen dinners and things like that too. And we're down here. We're goofing around a lot. We like to hang out, so we figured we might as well have a little T-shirt for it too.
K-Rod or Axford, I don't even know anymore. You guys have won 20 of your last 23, and the starting pitching has been so good. A lot of people don't know what you do for the first 7 or 8 innings of a game. So when your starters are going this well, I mean, what do? You come out, you have fun, you play game. I don't know what you guys do out here. What do you do?
Well, trying to definitely, try to stretch out a little bit and definitely, keep it loose, having a little fun. But when the times come to take care of business, we're going to be ready for it. And that's the idea, trying to have fun early in the game, and when after the 6-7 innings, you put your game face.
All right, one more parting shot from Mr. Axford. What do you have?
Oh, well, I saw you on Intentional Talk. You were talking with Hunter Pence about facial hair. You're putting different mustaches on him, and he happened to choose mine, which was very awesome. But you said you wanted to grow a mustache, but you were going to have some problems with it. You're not too sure if it was going to look good. So I have Axe mustache spray here for you. It's the handlebar version, if you can see that. You just spray it on the upper lip, and this is the handlebar one, and you'll grow a nice handlebar mustache.
So this is Axe for men?
Yes, it is, yeah.
I like it. Maybe I'll don it in the 8th inning or the 9th inning later today. John Axford, thank you very much, and I think you got to take to the bump with that thing on today, okay?
Okay. I will. Thank you.
Frankie, John, thank you very much. And, guys, I'm going to go use my little spray-on tan around my face. Back on upstairs.
Well, not only are the marketing guys' heads spinning right now, but I think the league office is on notice, because not since David Wells wore a Babe Ruth cap to the mound some decade ago will they have more tape to sift through than if Frankie Rodriguez goes to work with duct tape on his face. Chris, thank you. Runner at second base. A 1-2 count to Chris Capuano here. Mets trying to cut into a 4-run deficit in the bottom of the 5th. The impact, Tim, that the acquisition of Rodriguez has made on the Brewer bullpen can be measured by the success the rest of the group has had. Before K-Rod, through the 15th of July, the bullpen ERA by inning was a lot higher than it is now. Some of that might be coincidental, but a lot of it can be explained with roles being more clearly defined and relievers being put in the best possible situation to succeed, and they have the personnel to do that now.
You know what can't be explained? How Chris Rose can go to the bullpen and yet not to the Brewers broadcast booth and interview a guy who during his playing career spent most of his time in the bullpen. Bob Uecker, who is here today. Mr. Baseball, his 41st year with the Brewers. And the funniest man I have ever met.
There's Angel Pagan now. So you think a better choice for the amateur comedy would have been upstairs instead of down there with the duct tape?
Well, I think you do it both. I mean, Chris Rose, to me, after interviewing K-Rod and John, should go up to the broadcast booth and interview Bob Uecker. I mean, come on, this is show business.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That ball is yanked foul, and it's 1-1 to Angel Pagan, batting with a runner at 2 and 2 away here.
I mean, as a former player, Mr. Baseball will tell you that most of his playing time was spent in the bullpen.
We were talking before the telecast about his book Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, is it funny?
There's a little chopper out to third, a chance for McGee. The throw to first is not in time. Pagan runs very well and legged out an infield single.
Casey McGee did all he could to come up with that play, and Pagan, who was running on contact, that ball was outside. He made contact and just beats it, I think. Yeah, he beat it. Good call by first base umpire Ed Hickox.
So the Mets' best opportunity yet to break through against Randy Wolf. Tejada's single snapped a stretch of 11 straight batters retired, and now there are 2 runners aboard after Pagan's infield single. Justin Turner now with the 2 runners on. He doubled and scored in the first. Randy Wolf trying to get out of his first real jam this afternoon, still working with a 4-run cushion in the 5th. David Wright waiting next with 2 gone. Justin Turner's an interesting player in terms of his place here with the Mets. When you consider how he got to the big leagues, and just by virtue of saying no thank you to the Yankees as a draftee, which he did after his junior year at Cal State Fullerton, you'd think that would really ingratiate himself into the Mets fan base. It did to a degree. But Justin hasn't really clicked at the big league level like he did during a dominant prep career. A big senior season at Cal State Fullerton after saying no thanks to the Yankees. Came out as a higher draft choice a year later. And again, one of the young Mets still looking to turn heads here at season's end. Batting here with a 2-1 count, runners at the corners and 2 gone. Big swing and a miss. Took a rip at an eye-high 88-mile-an-hour fastball. Justin may or may not get some consideration for National League Rookie of the Year honors. I think that Craig Kimbrell has that one locked down pretty well. But his RBI total is 3rd best among National League rookies. 42 at the start of play.
Craig Kimbrell, the right-handed reliever for the Atlanta Braves, in tandem with Venters. I mean, That left-right punch reminds me of the middle 60s when Sammy Ellis and Billy McCool served that purpose with the Cincinnati Reds. I mean, they were unhittable. These two guys, Craig Kimbrell, 29 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. Johnny Venters, 20 2/3, stretches back until, I guess, the middle of June, early June. They are something.
Popped him up. No damage done in the bottom half of the fifth. Randy Wolf keeps his 4-run lead. A lot of duct tape and rec specs in that Brewer bullpen this afternoon. Now to support youth baseball across the country and by Burger King, the all-new BK Burger and Chicken Minis. Back with Tim McCarver, Ken Rosenthal, and Chris Rose. Matt Vasgersian here in Flushing. 5-1 Milwaukee. Ryan Braun has had a big part to do with that. His 2-run home run early, top of the first, gave the Brewers an early cushion that they have yet to relinquish. 5-1 Milwaukee. Braun, Fielder, and McGee here in the 6th. So Chris Capuano now approaching 90 pitches as that's bounced out to third for David Wright. Almost a fine play by Nick Evans coming off the bag and trying to apply the tag. Instead, he lost the handle on the baseball, and Braun is safe.
Funny watching David Wright throughout his career and the errors that he does make at third base normally on throws. This throw into the runner, and Nick Evans trying to clip Ryan Braun on the ankle, and Braun very lucky that he wasn't injured on that play. That was a dangerous play for the Brewers star.
Same kind of play that cost Albert Pujols 2 weeks with a broken bone in his wrist.
Yeah, of course, that was from the first baseman's standpoint, not the runner, but you could see where Braun, that was very, very dangerous.
So it's an error charged to David Wright that puts Braun aboard to start the inning. Prince Fielder, a 3-run home run back in the 3rd. his 28th of the year, and that gives him a total of 95 runs batted in. Only Ryan Howard of the Phillies with more runs batted in currently than Prince Fielder. And a fastball in for a strike. But Matt Kemp sure has had a terrific season.
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, to drive in 90 runs with that offense the Dodgers have thrown out there.
Fielder sends that one into the gap in right center. Pagan closing ground to make the catch for round number 1. Here is today's mini moment, brought to you by Burger King and the all-new BK Burger and Chicken Minis. It's happened twice that Prince Fielder has gotten his old mate. Happened June 7th at Miller Park. And then in the 3rd inning this afternoon. 2 home runs against a former teammate, and a tough lefty-lefty battle that Prince Fielder seems to have no trouble with whatsoever. 1 out, 1 on for Casey McGee now. Dodgers and Rockies are one of the other games going on currently in the National League. Dodgers on top 4-3 this afternoon.
Show me a left-handed hitter that hits left-handed pitching real well, and I'll show you a left-handed hitter that handles the inside fastball.
The right-handed hitting Casey McGee bounces it to third. A fair ball for David Wright, and that's out number 2 with Braun getting to second.
Conversely, if you're a left-handed pitcher, you can't be effective against left-handed hitters unless you ride the ball inside. I'm not saying to stay inside, but unless you can tail the ball inside, you're going to find left-handers who dive out over the plate have a lot of success to you. That's what Andy Pettitte of the New York Yankees found out in his 2nd decade of pitching in the American League. He started coming inside on left-handers, and their efficiency went down.
Yuniesky Betancourt on par with his quick plate appearances, makes this one a quick one and a productive one for Milwaukee. His 10th home run of the year, and it's now a 7-1 Brewer lead. Well, if the results were like that each time, nobody would be too worried about seeing a major league low less than 3 plate appearances per at-bat. Jump on the first one and hit it out. And for Betancourt, his 10th home run of the year, 7-1 Brewers. Here's Josh Wilson now.
3 hits for the Brewers today, all home runs. That was a slider. And in my view, that slider is the most dangerous pitch in baseball. More mistakes are made with a slider than any other pitch in the game. If it doesn't go down, it goes out. I know that's a simplistic statement, but there's no downward movement. There's nothing that flattens out and says hit me any more than that slider.
All 3 Brewer hits have been home runs this afternoon, and you could see the consternation on the face of Mets manager Terry Collins moments ago, just grinding over what's happened with his starting staff, his bullpen. It has been very difficult for the Mets the last couple of months. Pitching coach Dan Worthen. So we started play today talking about how the Brewers have been doing it with pitching and just enough offense. This was a Brewer team that hadn't homered since Monday, but 3 of them this afternoon. Capuano up to 100 pitches now. And Wilson lines a clean single into right.
Randy Wolf, once again, the beneficiary of the Brewers' power. He was the pitcher on Monday night against the Dodgers. Pedro Beato now warming for the Mets. This season for the Mets, I'll tell you, tries your sense of humor. Not a lot of laughs. First base dugout.
George Kataris with the ball off the glove of Turner. Wilson will wrap around to third. So that's 3 straight 2-out hits, including the home run by Betancourt. And here comes Terry Collins. He's seen enough. The Mets make the move to the bullpen. Chris Capuano's second start against his old employer, not going as well as the first one back in June in Milwaukee. He'll leave on the bad end of a 7-1 score with 2 runners aboard. It's his responsibility. A pitching change, and we'll be right back. Exits with runners aboard is his responsibility. 3 bases on balls. They played a big role this afternoon.
All of them scored.
3 home runs for Capuano, a total of 21 yielded for him as he gives way to Pedro Beato, making his 46th appearance of the season this afternoon. And a guy who the Mets quite possibly project as something other than a setup man in the near future. He does his job and gets Randy Wolf to ground to first. More on Beato as we continue as he minimizes the damage. Now 7-1 Milwaukee.
Field in New York City. Time for a DirecTV game break from Pittsburgh. Dontrelle Willis delivers, and so too is Ryan Ludwig. RBI single up the middle. The Pirates attacked on another. They lead it 3-1 in the sixth. Dontrelle still looking for his first win since June. That's June of 2010. Back on upstairs to Matt Vasgersian and Tim McCarver.
All right, Chris, thanks. We start the bottom half of the sixth inning with David Wright going to work against Randy Wolf. It'll be Wright, Hairston, and Bay. And the Mets down 6. And there seems to be a rather serious issue outside the ballpark, outside of center field as we speak. It's a live picture. And a fly ball out to shallow right field. Corey Hart is on it. One gone in the sixth. Even Randy Wolf, as he finished up his warm-up tosses, Timmy, kind of looked into center field after George Kottaras threw down and said, wow, what is going on out there?
Yeah, you can't help but be affected. In fact, you could smell the smoke. That is straightaway center field. And we were in the booth some 550 feet away, and the smoke is palpable.
That's to the point that fans out there on the top end of the pavilion seats out there are more interested with what's going on in the parking lot than they are with what's going on the field. Here's true. Scott Hairston now with one away. And of course, if we get word as to what exactly is going on out there, we'll pass it along to you. Hairston takes a strike. Scott is 0 for 2 this afternoon. A ball and 2 strikes, the count to Scott Hairston. Jason Bay waiting next. We talked about the Hairston brothers story in this matchup. Both Scott and Jerry on the field in different uniforms for the 10th time starting a game as adversaries, a swing and a miss. There was a little melee yesterday as a result of a Tim Burdack plate appearance against Prince Fielder. A pitch inside, not to worry, and then Prince is jammed and he's upset with himself, clearly barking at himself. Burdack asked him after the out if he was talking to him. Fielder responded and said, "Are you talking to me?" The bench is emptied, and it looked like something was to escalate if you didn't know the story. Here's Jason Bay. It was pretty clear that Prince Fielder was upset at himself at being jammed, and that Tim Burdack didn't really understand that. It was made clear that there was no problem between those two participants. And then watch what happens here. There's Jerry Hairston, who comes into the little fracas, and it looks like he's escalating the battle here because he's pointing into the clubhouse. He's pointing into the Mets dugout saying, "I want you, I want you." Well, he's pointing at his brother, playing around. If there's a fight, he wants to match up with Scott. Oh, much ado about nothing. We'll return to New York after a word from your local Fox station. September 11th, the regular season begins with a Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader. Two of the NFC's best go head-to-head as the Falcons take on the Bears in Chicago, where some will see the Eagles batter the Rams, others the Lions and the Buccaneers. Then the Giants take on the Redskins in D.C. Coverage begins Sunday, September 11th with the Built Ford Tough NFL pregame show on Fox. Noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Check local listings for the games in your area. NFL season opener Sunday, September 11th on Fox. One gone here in the top of the 7th. And Jerry Hairston digs in. A quick out as Corey Hart pops out to the left side of the infield. And now Hairston, who has walked and scored twice today. Pedro Beato took over in the 6th for Chris Capuano and finished the inning. And it's a ball and no strikes to Jerry Hairston.
And that allows us a chance to finish the story about Pedro Beato, who went to Xaverian High School here in Brooklyn, one of the boroughs, of course. Oh, what a play.
What a fine running catch by Angel Pagan.
You won't see many better than this play. Full extension, and he holds on.
Well, he went down hard on that shoulder.
Yeah, he did. At left shoulder, it appeared. That's a big league play.
Pedro Beato appreciating the support. And there are 2 gone in the inning.
See the grimace of Angel Pagan, but a terrific play going back, fully extended, and now that was a breaking ball. That was a slider over the head of Ryan Braun. And Braun knew it. Kind of tough to get that story in with first ball hitting.
I mean, telling you.
Pedro Beato has been, or at least Terry Collins has tried to encourage him to go to winter ball this year and air it out for about 30 to 40 innings and then shut it down early December. But with only 50 innings or so in store for his workload this year, he has suggested he go down there and pitch for a month and a half. And Beato is in doubt as to whether he'll do that.
3 balls and no strikes. The count to Ryan Braun.
I think the Mets are looking to Beato to perhaps be a starter in the future.
And that's the one aspect of what's happened here with the Mets the last 6+ weeks that has been most discouraging, I think, for Terry Collins. It begins with the starting rotation. And from Mike Pelfrey on down, it's been a struggle here since the All-Star break. And there's ball 4 to Braun. And by the way, we're all resisting temptation regarding that fire out there beyond the ballpark in center field to add the obligatory gags regarding the Mets season, the Mets bullpen. Not going there. And we're told, by the way, that's a junkyard fire, and that's been known to happen on occasion during the season. We're told that it'll be in control within a matter of minutes. As discouraging as those pictures are, we're told that that's a kind of a business as usual occurrence. Just repeating what we're told. I don't call that business as usual when things are on fire, but
no.
A ball and a strike to count to Prince Fielder, who has sent a 3-run home run into the seats this afternoon, his 28th of the year. Chris Rose wearing multiple hats for us, and he's now a news reporter this afternoon. Chris, what's going on out there?
Yeah, Matt, there's definitely a fire going on out here. Flames are still going on. They have shut down the street behind center field here at Citi Field. A couple of fire trucks are on hand. Perhaps even air traffic is being diverted because of the smoke that thankfully is blowing away from the stadium for the fans here at Citi Field. We'll keep our eye on it, but it is still burning.
All right, Chris, thank you for that firm grasp of the obvious. Chris Rose telling us that there's a fire here. Chris, we know why you work in sports now. 2 balls and 2 strikes to count to Prince Fielder. For a report on the setting sun in about an hour and a half, here's Chris Rose.
Vasgersian, anytime you want to climb out of your air-conditioned booth and, maybe move 3 or 4 feet to your left or right, feel free.
No, you're doing a great job out there, pal.
Ooh, we're calling each other by last names already.
A great catch by Angel Pagan, a part of a scoreless top of the 7th inning. Is sponsored by Michelin, a better way forward. By DirecTV, now get DirecTV's best offer of the year. And by Chrysler, imported from Detroit. All Brewers this afternoon in Flushing, Queens, 7-1 Milwaukee, bottom half of the 7th inning. And Ronnie Paulino leads off against Randy Wolf, who has been terrific on this day, yielding just the 1 run on 4 hits. Wolf has walked only 1 batter and struck out 3 thus far. So a guy trying to win his 5th straight. There's a leadoff base hit as Paulino is aboard here in the 7th. Grammy Award nominated LMFAO conducted an exclusive performance to a packed MLB Fan Cave presented by New Era Thursday as a part of the MLB Fan Cave concert series. They performed their current Billboard chart topper Party Rock Anthem, which has been #1 on the charts for the last 6 weeks. Fans will be able to watch the performance at MLBFancave.com and MLB.com. Nick Evans with a ball that gets away from Wilson on into right center field. Just out of the reach of Josh, and there are runners at first and second as we welcome you into the aforementioned air-conditioned, cool, comfortable environs of our broadcast booth.
Yeah.
This
is what Chris Rose was talking about. Nice, cool, comfortable.
I couldn't be happier here, right? Chris is out there. Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Doesn't it?
Chris is out there reporting on fires in center field at some of the auto supply places. Supply being a generous term. And we're here in the comfortable air-conditioned booth watching this one. Runners at first and second. And Ruben Tejada, the batter, he singled back in the 5th. Randy Wolf yielding back-to-back hits for the first time today. And a strike at the knees to make it 1-1. We haven't really had a chance to profile the Brewers bullpen outside of John Axford and Francisco Rodriguez. Takashi Saito is up. And in a bullpen without the benefit of a left-hander, Saito has inherited the role of get the left-handers out.
And what that tells you about a pitcher is usually if a right-hander is in there to get a lefty out, he's got to have a splitter. Generally speaking, in this day and age, that means splitter, and Saito has an excellent splitter.
Willie Harris is on deck to pinch hit in the number 9 spot, so it'll be Harris next, and then the switch hitter Angel Pagan. You know, the fact that they succeed without a left-handed bullet in the bullpen. Their bullpen has been as good as a group as it has been, complementing what's been a terrific starting staff. There seems to be more balance on this Brewer team than certainly in the past number of vintages. And headed toward the postseason, everybody clicking at the same time. It's past to diving Casey McGee into the left field corner. Carlino will score. Into third is Evans. A 7-2 Milwaukee lead.
One more hit, and the Mets are right back in this tilt. Tejada with his second hit. And RBI number 24 on the year. Casey McGee diving to try. Had he made that play, the only play is at third base.
So now Willie Harris off the bench. As Tim mentions, a base hit makes it a 3-run ball game. For the first time this year, Randy Wolf has allowed a score in the 7th. Evans the runner at third. Tejada on the RBI double aboard at second. The late lead allows Ron Renicky to use his late bullpen formula. If he can patch through the 7th with a combination of Saito and company, perhaps just Takashi Saito. And there's a fly ball out to right for Corey Hart. Hart makes the catch, tagging up to come on in and score is Nick Evans. The throw came into second on Tejada, who got back in time, and it's a 7-3 ball game. So that's the first out of the inning. And now Angel Pagan as Kataris goes out to talk with Wolf. See if Rick Kranitz wants to go to his bullpen here.
Well, you've got to switch hitter up. I think you rely on what Wolf has done the last 3 times, but that was wrong analysis. As there comes Ron Renicky.
Well, I was with you. I was guessing one more at bat for the starter. I think Randy was feeling the same way himself.
Yeah, I think so.
109 pitches here into the 7th inning. So far, just a conversation. Saito is ready. He's coming into the ballgame as though a move has been made. He's going to have to turn around.
Talked him out of it, perhaps.
Saito had grabbed the door. So at least one more plate appearance for Randy Wolf.
Now that's a revolving door for a bullpen.
Indeed. The spirit of Sparky Anderson settles in today. Pagano singled in 3 trips. You know, there was a time not long ago, Tim, that you'd talk about the Brewers bullpen being the Achilles heel. The balance that exists on the current roster just wasn't there last year moving back. Ken Rosenthal, the balance on the Brewers roster expands on both sides of the scorecard.
Absolutely, Matt. Last year, you looked at this team, they were 4th in the league in runs scored and 14th in ERA. This year, they are quite balanced, as you mentioned. 7th in runs scored, 6th in ERA. But what's interesting is that their general manager, Doug Melvin, is still worried about the consistency of the team's offense. You wouldn't know it from today necessarily, but Betancourt, McGee, a number of their other lesser hitters have been really hot since the All-Star break. The Brewers aren't sure that that can continue, but as we've talked about, Ricky Weeks is coming back.
Yeah, Ricky Weeks seems to hold the big key moving forward, and you can understand the fear moving forward when you get guys who've already established the baseline and they're producing way above expectations. Those aren't expectations that you can count on into the fall.
Well, you can say, well, the Brewers have done very well without Ricky Weeks, and that's true. But as we mentioned on the opening, they've done it because of pitching, not offense, for the most part.
Still a ball and 2 strikes to Angel Pagan.
I'll tell you what, if I'm going into the postseason, I would much rather have a strong pitching staff and a slightly less than regular offense than the other way around. For obvious reasons. And strong pitching wins more than strong offense.
Pagan rips a ball into right center field. Hairston was playing shallow, so Chip Hale holds Tejada at third, and there are runners at the corners on the 4th hit of the inning against Randy Wolf. Justin Turner scheduled.
There'll be no more talking Ron Renicky out. Of course, now it's the 2nd trip to the mound. But even if it were the first, Randy Wolf's through.
Takashi Saito took another extra couple of pitches before he said, okay, now you want me? All right. A pitching change with runners at the corners. We'll be right back. The 7th, but still looks to be in pretty good shape in trying to win his 5th straight start. Goes into the 7th inning, leaves with runners aboard and a couple of runs on the scoreboard. A 7-3 Brewer lead as Milwaukee hands the ball to right-hander Takashi Saito here in the 7th.
Saito picking up his 4th win on Tuesday night. What a remarkable career he's had. 14 years pitching in Japan and Yokohama. 3 years with the Dodgers, once with Boston, and a year in Atlanta.
His first pitch to Justin Turner is in for a strike. Well, Takashi Saito went on the shelf early this year. The Brewers were without him for much of the first half of the season due to a left hamstring injury. Cost him 73 games. So it hasn't just been the addition of Francisco Rodriguez, but a healthy Saito, a healthy LaTroy Hawkins, an underreported aspect of their bullpen success that has really helped the whole unit thrive as a group.
Yeah, it all gelled at once.
1 ball and 1 strike, the count to Justin Turner. You saw David Wright scheduled next, only 1 away here in the 7th. Two balls and a strike. One of the aspects of Saito's game that Bobby Cox managed so brilliantly last year was the fact that he is not, at this point in his career, an everyday guy. Really have to pick your spots at when you back-to-back Takashi Saito. Pagan runs. No throw down by Kataris. Stolen base for Angel Pagan is 26th of the year.
Angel Pagan with a great jump. Could have gone in standing up. That could be a key play if the Mets can plate a base hit to the outfield now.
Well, New York has had some success today with runners in scoring position. They're 4 for 8 in that regard. In fact, they've been good in that capacity for much of the season. A .269 average with runners in scoring position entering play, and that's the second best in the National League. Turner himself has been very good with runners in scoring position. And he whacks that pitch foul. It's a full count now, 3-2. Two runs in the 7th, and 2 more runners out there. Still the responsibility of Randy Wolf. Justin Turner, a .350 hitter with runners in scoring position, waits the full count offering. Just missed with ball 4. Well, we're talking out of both sides of our mouth, and yes, they've been good with runners in scoring position. They've also stranded their share. In fact, almost 1,000, most in the game.
The interesting thing about that is the second in that category, the Boston Red Sox. So in order to strand, the point is, in order to strand a lot of runners, you've got to get a lot of runners on base.
Well, David Wright has Tejada, Pagan, and Turner aboard. 4 career grand slams for David. And the Mets are a slam away from getting back to even. The first offering from Takashi Saito, a slider swung on and missed.
David a little anxious on that first pitch. Slider out of the strike zone. And Wright bites.
On the ground to shortstop. Betancourt to Wilson. Back to fielder. Relay brings him off the bag. A run scores from third. And it's a 7-4 ball game.
We've talked about it many, many times. A double play ball, you want the hitter to hit it hard, but right at someone. Good takeout slide by Justin Turner. Allows Wright to be safe at first.
So credit David Wright with the RBI, his 40th of the year, and now Lucas Duda will pinch hit for Scott Hairston. Duda getting the day off as a starter because of the matchup. And now Rick Kranitz wants to come out and talk to Saito. And perhaps just disseminate some scouting information on a guy who was not in the lineup at 4 o'clock this afternoon. We mentioned this earlier, Tim, the fact that Saito is the right-handed reliever who is called on to get the left-handed hitters out.
Yeah, the Brewers do not have a left-hander in the bullpen, as we said earlier. So we'll see how Saito works the left-handed Lucas Duda. That'll be one of the great baseball names in the game today, Lucas Duda.
We saw Bobby Parnell and Manny Acosta up in the Mets bullpen. Pagan, Turner, and Wright aboard with 2 away. Pagan and Wright aboard with 2 away. Lucas Duda came to the big league team last year and had his first chance to open eyes after the All-Star break of 2010. He has showed prodigious power at times this year. And it's the kind of power that Terry Collins had seen early on this season. A drive well hit to left center field. Hairston can't make the catch. Pagan and Wright both score. It's a 2-run pinch hit double by Lucas Duda, and all of a sudden a 1-run ball game in Flushing.
Well, you just said it, Matt. Good power, particularly the other way, and the Mets really catch a break here. Instead of the ball bouncing perhaps out of the field of play, it stays in, and that allows David Wright a chance to score. And instead of a 2-run lead, the Brewers have a 1-run lead and the tying run on second base.
Jason Bay with a chance to tie the ball game on a base hit. And in front of Saito, 2 balls and no strikes. The Mets have batted around in the bottom of the 7th.
I mean, out of nowhere have the Mets come.
It all began with Ronnie Paulino's seemingly innocent leadoff single. Then a base hit by Nick Evans. Ruben Tejada doubled in a run. Sac fly by the pinch hitter Willie Harris. All but one of these runs come across on Randy Wolf's line. Three and one. Center field. Hairston back on this one shy of the crack to end the inning. But a productive inning it was. The Mets score 5 times, 5 runs on 6 hits. And at the end of 7, it's a whole new dialogue. 7-6 Milwaukee. Welcome back to Major League Baseball on Fox, presented by Gillette Fusion Pro Glide. Lucas Duda, after delivering a key pinch hit 2-run double in the previous half inning, will stick around. He takes over in right field. The Mets are right back in this ball game. They've gone to the bullpen, and that bullpen man, Bobby Parnell, induces a ground ball to start things in the top of the 8th inning. Bobby appearing in his 40th game of the season. A guy who the Mets project as a possible closer of the future.
When you talk about going to the bullpen, it's going to be very interesting in this one-run ball game when the Brewers go to K-Rod in the bottom of the 8th inning. What looked to be a blowout an inning ago has turned into a very compelling situation with K-Rod's return to Citi Field.
Yuniesky Betancourt is homered today. His 10th of the year came in the 6th, and that made it 7-1 and got us to the point Tim just described, what looked like a runaway for the Brewers. But the Mets, with 5 in the 7th, have made this at the very least much more interesting in the late going.
Yeah, runaways in this ballpark tend to stay that way. It's a lot tougher coming back in a park like Citi Field than it would be a park like Miller Field in Milwaukee.
Broken bat, one hopper out to shortstop for Tejada, and 2 away. Well, if you're just tuning us in, here's how we got to 7-6. It was all Brewers early. Milwaukee got a 2-run home run by Ryan Braun, a 3-run shot by Prince Fielder. Yuniesky Betancourt has homered today, a 2-run home run for him. But the Mets, with 5 in the 7th, have come back to make it a 1-run ball game. Takashi Saito, one of those runs in the 7th, charged to him. The other 4 hung on the starter Randy Wolf. Josh Wilson now with 2 gone and the base is empty. Wilson is 1 for 3 today. We went on the air kind of ballyhooing the Brewers' improved starting pitching, Tim, and in fact this game today ends a streak of Milwaukee allowing 2 or fewer runs, a streak that ends in 9 games now. That's how good Brewer pitching had been, 2 or fewer in 9 straight until today. Two balls and 2 strikes, the count to Josh Wilson.
Terry Collins talking it over with his brain trust there to determine how to work the lineup in the next inning. That's Ken Oberkfell to the right of your screen. Ken, the bench coach for the Mets.
Wilson jammed. Wright's got to hurry with the bare hand. He gets it done. Maybe the best in the business at that particular play. A 1-2-3-8. K-Rod back in Citi Field. sponsored by AT NYN, Rethink Possible, and by MasterCard. Eat, drink, and be generous this summer. A lot of different subplots happening at Citi Field today. The fire is out, so that's good news to report, as one of the junkyards outside the ballpark had caught fire earlier today, if you're just joining us. Fire out outside the ballpark, but there was a little flame brewing inside when the Mets plated 5 in the bottom of the 7th. Francisco Rodriguez, the former Met, is announced to work the bottom of the 8th. To a mixed reaction, I think, fairly said.
Hired as the Mets fireman back in 2009. 83 saves for the Mets. All sorts of turmoil last year. And booed by the Mets faithful. And here he is trying to help save it for the Brewers.
Ronnie Paulino, the first to face Francisco Rodriguez in the home 8th. Paulino, Evans, and Tejada. We've talked about the trade that sent Francisco Rodriguez to the Brewers in July and how Milwaukee's bullpen has responded so favorably since then. Chris Rose visited with K-Rod and John Axford earlier today in the Brewer bullpen. The one question that I think some fans still have about the deal, Tim, is how did Milwaukee make the $17.5 million vesting option go away from K-Rod's contract? It was an option that would have been met if Rodriguez finished 55 games this year. He gets dealt to Milwaukee. That goes away. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the season, and Ken Rosenthal might be able to shed some light on how that number went away after being traded to the Brewers. Kenny.
Well, K-Rod at the time, and still does, have a new agent, Scott Boras. And it was in Boras' best interest to make that number go away because he wanted K-Rod to be a free agent. So what they did was they raised the buyout in his deal from $3.5 million to $4 million. Basically said we're going to make that vesting option a mutual option. Now what will happen is that K-Rod will decline the mutual option. He'll become a free agent, and depending upon how it goes in the market, he might do even better in total guarantee than the $17.5 million. He won't do better, Matt, on a one-year deal.
Boy, it's still interesting that both parties able to come to that conclusion is seemingly as easy as they did. A swing and a miss by Paulino, and there's one away here in the 8th.
Well, if there is any organization that needs to see $17.5 million go away, it's the New York Mets. As Paulino strikes out on the cut fastball from Rodriguez.
Jonathan Lucroy taking over behind the plate for George Kataris with the move to the mound. We'll have another pinch hitter here. Jason Pridey will bat with one gone and the base is empty. So Terry Collins goes to a left-handed option with the bases empty. I think when you consider the deal for K-Rod, as you take a look at Jason Isringhausen getting ready for the Mets, you consider what Doug Melvin was able to engineer before the season even began, acquiring Zach Greinke. And any discussion of executive of the year has to mention the job that Doug Melvin has done in Milwaukee.
Either Doug Melvin or Kevin Towers, the general manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Coming into today's play, the Diamondbacks 2.5 games in front of San Francisco in the National League West.
I think those would be your two front runners for sure, and you couldn't go wrong either way. 2 gone now for Ruben Tejada, who's had a big afternoon, 2 for 3 with an RBI. Nothing in 1, the count to Tejada. Josh Thole would pinch hit next. It's been a while for Francisco Rodriguez, and that's why it was with certainty we were able to say today he will pitch this afternoon regardless of the situation. Just so happens he gets involved in a one-run game, whereas it looked like he'd be mopping up earlier tonight. 0-2 the count now to Ruben Tejada. But his last appearance was on Saturday versus the Pirates. That's why Ron Renicky was able to tell us we got to get him in there today, regardless. 0-2 to Tejada. He dropped a breaking ball on him that stayed up a little too high. A ball and 2 strikes now. The late inning formula is K-Rod in the 8th, Axford in the 9th. And though Francisco Rodriguez was working under the assumption he'd be closing in Milwaukee, he has accepted this role, at least for the time being. 2 balls and 2 strikes. When Milwaukee bats in the 9th, they'll have the 8, 9, then top of the order. A full count now, 3-2. And the only reason that's significant is that if you can keep that part of the order quiet, 8, 9, and 1, there's less a chance you'll have to deal one more time with Braun and Fielder. That's either Tony Plush or Niger Morgan, who's getting ready to pinch hit. We're waiting for an announcement here in the press box as to which one it'll be. The payoff home from Rodriguez. He lost him on ball 4.
That's because Tony Plush is Niger Morgan's alter ego. Most guys, when you talk about switch hitters, you mean left-handed or right-handed. With Niger, it's either Niger or Tony.
Here's Josh Toley now. He'll pinch hit with the tying run aboard and 2 gone.
And by the way, we're not kidding. I mean, he is serious about that Tony Plush.
Yeah.
You may find it strange, but he's serious.
No, I think you make a good point there. Oftentimes we have a laugh over things like that, but you know, he's a guy that is doing things a little differently.
Ooh, I'll say.
0-1 the count to Josh Toley, the pinch hitter. Situations like these have always interested me, Tim, in that Toley used to receive Francisco Rodriguez, and a lot of people assumed there'd be an advantage hitting against a guy you used to catch.
Advantage catcher. When a catcher faces a pitcher that he's caught for a long time, advantage catcher. Now, eventually it catches up to you. It depends on the quality of the pitcher, the quality of the hitter.
Toley sends a ball out to center field. Hairston started in and misplays it up the middle. Tejada will score, and the Mets have tied it at
7. But in this case, advantage hitter. Hairston back off the heel of the glove, and the Mets tie it. And now a pinch runner for Josh Toley. As Tejada with 2 outs. After the walk to Tejada, the double by Toley, and the reaction by K-Rod.
Well, K-Rod knew if he had a little bit of help out there in center field, it's inning over. On a difficult chance, we might add, Jerry Hairston misplays a ball in center. That scored as an RBI double, by the way.
Boy, did that bring that crowd back here.
You bet. And here now is Angel Pagan, who's 2 for 4 today. the go-ahead run in scoring position.
By the way, in my opinion, the reason that there is an advantage for the hitter is that a hitter is caught and seen every type delivery of this particular pitcher for a long, long time. And this pitcher, during the process, has never faced the hitter. So it makes sense that the advantage would be to the catcher hitting. And after a while, things kind of even out.
Mike Baxter pinch running for Tolley, the pinch hitter. So Terry Collins emptying out his bench here and doing so successfully. He had the big 2-run pinch hit doubled by Lucas Duda. The big RBI pinch hit doubled by Josh Tolley. He's used Willie Harris. He's used Pridey. He's used Baxter now. A ball and 2 strikes. Justin Turner waiting on deck. The Mets with 5 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th have come all the way back from a 7-1 deficit. Rodriguez set, and the 1-2 home to Pagan is slapped foul.
Terry Collins had a reputation coming to the Mets of a guy who was angry and a short fuse. He said the only way that I would have this after maturing as a manager is if I found out that my team is not trying. Well, he's found that out again today. Limited talent, but they are fighters. You really have to give them credit.
The next 1-2 home to Pagan. You saw Terry Collins a moment ago talking with R.A. Dickey and likely telling him, hey, R.A., we don't have any more position players available. As I just talked about, they've burned everybody. Hey, come here. You might be pinch running at some point today, big boy.
You may be in a position. I mean, R.A. Dickey signed as a shortstop. Now, I don't know what position that would require him to get into the game, but that could be a possibility too.
Just whatever you do, don't go up the tunnel and start eating pizza.
Right.
We need you out here at this point. R.A. is starting tomorrow. Pagan with a drive well, straight to right, and then it's gone!
Changeup.
A situation that would be as unlikely and impossible to script as you could ever fathom. Months ago, Francisco Rodriguez, a Met himself, his return to Citi Field as a Brewer has been an absolute nightmare. Angel Pagan's 7th of the year, 9-7 New York, as Justin Turner rolls it out to Betancourt, but the damage done. 5 in the 7th, 3 in the 8th. Jason Isringhausen has a chance to save it as we go to the top of the 9th. In the sofa cushions and ducked away from this telecast for a little bit. My, have you missed some storyline. 9-7 New York. The Brewers were cruising en route to what looked like an easy 7-1 victory until the Mets scored 5 in the 7th and then 3 in the 8th to take the lead, capped by a dramatic 2-run home run by Angel Pagan against ex-Met Francisco Rodriguez. And now Jason Isringhausen's in a chance to save it this afternoon.
And there are the pundits writing their stories and changing their stories and changing the headlines. That a couple of innings ago, this is one of the most unlikeliest comebacks against the most unlikely pitcher, Frankie Rodriguez.
It's going to be Jonathan Lucroy, Nyjer Morgan, and then Corey Hart for the Brewers to have one last say-so against Isringhausen and the Mets today.
I should say, if it holds up, it would be one of the most unlikely stories of the year for the Mets, and maybe the most unlikely in 2 or 3 years for the Mets.
Well, I think that the only thing that those writers hadn't done was push send. Those stories were written.
That's right.
And all of a sudden, a complete change in the tone of this thing with the 5-run 7th. And now the story becomes the ex-Met coming back here to get burned. 3 balls and a strike to Lucroy, a full count now. Jonathan Lucroy, a non-starter today. He came on when Randy Wolf was removed. Lucroy took over behind the plate for George Gutaris. A pinch hitter waits next, Nyjer Morgan.
June 2nd, the Mets were down 7-0 against the Pittsburgh Pirates and came back to win that game.
And ball 4. So with the tying run stepping in at the plate, it's time for the Just for Men Keep Your Edge spotlight. It's on Angel Pagan, who made a terrific diving catch earlier today and then hit the 2-run home run to give the Mets the 9-7 lead. You too can keep your edge with Just for Men mustache and beard. Nyjer Morgan pinch hitting, a .315 hitter this year. Acquired at the very end of spring training in a small transaction that didn't make many headlines throughout Major League Baseball for minor leaguer Cutter Dykstra and cash. Morgan has turned out to be a very valuable player on the 2011 Brewers. He was a non-starter today because of the matchup against the left-hander Chris Capuano. But you saw the .315 batting average. About the only thing that's gone wrong for Nyjer Morgan this year have been a couple of DL stints. A finger injury and a quad injury had him on the DL twice this season. But it seems as though the third uniform has been a fit for the former Pirate and National. 2 balls and a strike from Jason Isringhausen. To 3-1 now.
Throughout Jason Isringhausen's career, he has had problems early in the inning. Troy Hawkins now warming for the Brewers, and he'll be ready for the bottom of the 9th if there is one.
Full count now, 3-2. But Jason Isringhausen's is a story, a baseball tale that's come full circle from first-round draft selection in '91 by the Mets to a guy whose career has taken him back to Flushing. And that's back-to-back walks to start the 9th. A reminder, later on tonight on Fox, Cops at 8 p.m., Cops at 8:30 p.m., American Dad at 9, and the Cleveland Show at 9:30. All starts at 8/7 Central tonight on Fox. So after the back-to-back walks, Dan Worthen comes out now and gathers his entire infield.
Now, I think the one thing you make clear is they're not going to be bunting here. Corey Hart is not up there to bunt. So play back and make sure you get the runner at second base at least. That will keep the potential tying run out of scoring position.
There is that tying run. Niger Morgan at first. Lucroy the runner at second. Nobody out here. Corey Hart hitless tonight. Mark Kotze would bat next. A ball and no strikes to Corey Hart. Francisco Rodriguez would love to spit this hook. Hard with a drive into right, a base hit, and that's going to load the bases with nobody out.
Two walks and then ball one to Corey Hart. Corey looking for a fastball in the fat part of the plate. He got it. It's like batting practice then.
So now Mark Kotze, who had a game-winning hit in Milwaukee earlier this week against the Dodgers. Manny Acosta and Tim Burdack. Acosta's been up a couple of times tonight. We talked about Kotze with the walk-off hit. It came Tuesday in Miller Park against the Dodgers. And it came for what's been tough matchups for Mark in the past against a left-hander, Hong-Chi Kuo. Brought home Prince Fielder and gave the Brewers a 2-1 win.
I'll tell you, Matt, I can tell you right here, there is not a hitter alive, past, present, future, who wouldn't love this situation.
3 balls and no strikes.
And love this one more.
Absolute agony on the face of that Mets fan. But after a 6-run comeback to take a 9-7 lead. And there's a strike to Kotze. 3-1 now.
Kotze knows he's going to get the fastball. No place to put him. Bases loaded. 3-1. Ideal hitting situation for Mark Kotze.
And a full count now. 3-2. A couple of big league veterans with nearly 30 years of experience between them. Yet this is the first time they've ever faced one another. We talked about it earlier, Tim, how important it was to roll through this 8-9, then top of the order quickly, so as not to give Braun and Fielder a chance. They will have that chance. Now a 1-run ball game on ball 4 to Kotze. And Terry Collins has seen enough. Well, Jason Isringhausen's last outing came 5 days ago in San Diego. He earned his 300th career save that night. But 3 walks and a single and nobody out. And Isringhausen's removed in the 9th. Well, just a few moments ago, it didn't appear there would be cause for Manny Acosta to work tonight. However, Jason Isringhausen walking 3 and allowing a single, leaving the bases loaded with nobody out, has prompted the change. Ryan Braun, the batter. He has homered tonight, his 24th of the year. He's been a one-man wrecking crew with the bases loaded, as you can see, and he's got a juicy situation aboard with Morgan, Hart, and Kotze. A run in here to make it a one-run ball game, and again, nobody out in the top of the 9th. Braun sends a fly ball into shallow right.
Not on this one.
Friday makes the catch, and the Brewers decide not to tempt fate.
Morgan left too soon anyway at third base. No chance for him to come home. And now with Fielder coming up, I think Perry Collins will go to the left-hander. Friday with a good arm, but more importantly, with nobody out, no way Morgan is scoring, and Acosta is right where he should be. No, he didn't leave too soon. But a good play by Acosta. Well, now Terry Collins will leave Acosta in to face Prince Fielder.
19 of Fielder's 28 home runs have given his team the lead. Bases loaded, 1 away. Big swing and a miss.
Talk about trusting your right-hander against one of the more lethal left-handers in the game, Prince Fielder. Terry Collins is doing exactly that.
There have been but 2 previous meetings between Acosta and Fielder. 0 for 2 with a strikeout is Prince in those 2 previous at-bats.
Following the breaking ball with the fastball off the plate. Okay, the wild pitch is the one thing Morgan has to be alive for at third right now.
But Manny Acosta bringing it at 97 miles an hour. Fielder can only get a piece of it to stay alive.
The reason I talked about the wild pitch, Matt, is a lot of pitchers try to grip that breaking ball too tightly against a guy like Fielder. You get ahead of him, you realize you don't have to throw a strike, you can get him to go for a bad ball.
Fielder lines it past Turner into right field. Morgan scores, and this ball game is tied. Wow.
And when you don't throw the breaking ball in the dirt, you allow a guy like Prince Fielder to make contact, and he does. Watch how he goes down and gets this breaking ball below the knees. It may have been in the dirt had he not hit it off the end of the bat, and Prince Fielder ties the game again, and the Brewers are back to being momentarily happy.
And thinking that all of a sudden Prince Fielder had turned into a left-handed version of Vlad Guerrero. You talk about expanding your strike zone.
Yeah, that ball may have been in the dirt had he not hit it.
Casey McGee now with a chance to reclaim the lead for Milwaukee. A cue shot that's going to dribble into right. Hart scores. Here's Kotze. Milwaukee back on top.
This ball in on the hands of Casey McGee. He fights it off, finds a hole, and the Brewers take the lead again.
Oh, man.
You gotta be kidding me. What a game. Second baseman Justin Turner playing close to second. He's got to cheat for the double play. And the ball finds a hole.
All 4 of these ninth-inning runs charged to Jason Isringhausen, now Betancourt. And on the first pitch, he pops it in the infield for David Wright. There are 2 gone in the ninth.
How about that pitch sequence where you really have to pinch yourself, right, to Prince Fielder. 0-2. Now he fouls off a pitch to hit. And that ball, I think he hit it with a shovel. I mean, my gosh. That ball definitely would have been in the dirt had Fielder not swung at it and made contact.
Saw the Troy Hawkins up earlier. That was on the occasion that Milwaukee may have tied it. Now that the Brewers have taken a lead and it's a safe situation, John Axford is up to come in the ninth.
And K-Rod could get the win.
Well, you can't write this stuff, folks.
No.
Here's Felipe Lopez to pinch hit. Switch hitting utility man who was brought back to the Brewers as a free agent. Both managers pushing a lot of buttons on this afternoon. It was Lopez that was brought in to play primarily the second base spot after Ricky Weeks was hurt. He tries to pick up Fielder and McGee. They brought him in for his bat. The results weren't quite there, so the job became kind of an open casting call, if you will. Felipe Lopez still a valuable player, again a switch hitter. Behind here, 0-2. Jason Isringhausen began the inning. He did not record an out after facing 4 batters. Manny Acosta came in to face Ryan Braun, and with the bases loaded and nobody out, popped him up. Fielder singled on the 2-strike curveball that, as Tim noted, would have been in the dirt. And then Casey McGee singled on the first pitch. Two balls and 2 strikes, the count to Felipe Lopez. Jonathan Lucroy standing on deck next. He led this off with the base on balls. And a swing and a miss puts the 9th inning to bed. Milwaukee, however, bats around. They score 4. One guy's about to spit the bit. The other guy might be wearing the loss. To the bottom of the 9th. Here at Citi Field this afternoon as Milwaukee has an 11-9 lead. Nyjer Morgan, or that might be Tony Plush.
I think I would protest this game if I were Terry Collins, because the Brewers are using a 26-man roster. Tony Plush and Nyjer Morgan in the same uniform.
Nyjer Morgan / Tony Plush takes over in center field for Jerry Hairston Jr. There he is, and you just saw Craig Counsell who'll take over at second base. So that means that every bench player available has been used in this ball game this afternoon, and the Brewers turn to their closer, John Axford, who has been brilliant this season. His 36th save of the year came on Wednesday. Over his last 15 appearances, those already very good numbers have been even better. He's worked to the tune of a 0.60 ERA over that time.
Wow.
David Wright will lead it off for the Mets.
Matt, this is one of those games where you want to show the scorecard and frame it and show it to a little league team and say, this is how you lose baseball games. 7 walks by the Mets this evening. 6 have scored.
Well, that would be among the lessons taught with this scorecard.
That's true. That's right.
Another one being, you play all 9.
Yep.
2 balls and no strikes from John Axford. Some uncharacteristically poor relief pitching this afternoon. Francisco Rodriguez, who'd been so good since the trade. Jason Isringhausen, who'd been so reliable coming back here in his late baseball life as a Met. Each struggling. 2 balls and a strike to David Wright. Fastball just misses the corner.
A movie can't entertain when it's bad. Baseball can. And this game's proving it.
Entertaining it has been. John Axford trying to convert on his 34th straight opportunity. Off Axford and conveniently right to Craig Counsell for out number 1. So that very important leadoff hitter retired, and now it's Lucas Duda.
That has to be scored. A 1-4-3 putout of David Wright.
Lucas Duda had the big 2-run pinch hit double in the 7th that helped the Mets get to within a run. They scored 5 in the 7th, and then 3 in the 8th to take a very short-lived lead as Milwaukee plated 4 in the 9th. We went on the air earlier today, Tim, talking about how the Brewers had an opportunity with the win and some scoreboard watching to take what would be their largest division lead ever in franchise history. Some of that has already happened. The Cardinals were shut out by the Cubs today. 3-0 Chicago the score. So should the Brewers hang on and win this afternoon, their lead over the Redbirds will be 8.5, and that would give them the largest lead this franchise has ever enjoyed atop the perch. They had an 8.5 game lead in June of 2007. But we're talking about a team on pace to match a franchise record for victories. This 11 Brewers club on a pace for 95 wins. And 2-2 now to Lucas Duda.
Well, another thing to keep in mind, the Milwaukee Brewers are 7 games worse off than the Philadelphia Phillies. If the Brewers can catch the Phillies and the way they're playing, they can catch anybody. And the breaks they're getting and the quality that exists on this team right now. And you get my drift. If they can get home field advantage throughout the playoffs with that dominating home field advantage that they enjoy, look out. Another club in their bag.
2 gone here in the ninth after Duda strikes out. Jason Bay represents the last shot for the Mets. Now, this Brewer team has a chance to establish the best National League home record in the wild card format era. Milwaukee 47-16 at home. And whether you buy into Tony La Russa's theory of the changing lights when the Brewers hit at home or not, it's awfully tough to discount that number.
And to discount the Brewers if they get home field advantage in the playoffs.
Team that has not won a postseason series since 1982, the year they lost a 7-game World Series to the Cardinals in the Sud Series. Three balls and no strikes to Jason Bay. Yeah, they've traveled some of these cheesers. I'll tell you, it's, you know, they're loud. They're everywhere.
Yes, sir.
3 balls and a strike from John Axford now. And as excited and energized as Citi Field was about 20 minutes ago after the 3-run rally in the 8th, and much of that enthusiasm has swung over to those here from America's Dairyland. Bay rolls over a ground ball to third, and this one is over. The Brewers, after being caught with a 7-1 lead to fall behind 9-7, come back to score 4 in the 9th and win it 11-9. We're back to wrap things up from Flushing right after these messages from your local station.